What is up? We have a motor mount. We have two more motor mounts on top of this, all from HASPORT. We're going to install them on Project FC3, tell you a little bit about them, show you what they do. Let's go. What's up, guys? It's JP from Autosport.com. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a minute since we did a Project FC3 video, but we're back at it with something that I wanted to do for a while now. If you enjoy these videos, if you like this video, shoot us a comment below, shoot us a question below. We'll definitely get back to you. We always do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, all the usuals. Let us know what you think. Today, we're putting on HASPORT engine mounts. There's 3 engine mounts, or a variety of mounts for the engine and transmission in the Civic. So we're gonna replace all 3 of them today. The majority of people are gonna do a rear motor mount, which is basically this right here. This is the easiest one to install by far, and then it's also just kind of the more popular mount to just pop in there and have a good, nice effect on feel and just overall performance when you're just changing out a motor mount. So this is the most common one, but there are 2 other motor mounts that we can install as well. As you can see, they are all powder coated black. All these brackets are powder coated black, looking really nice. And then the actual bushing kind of portion of the motor mounts are all billet aluminum, really nice machining. This stuff is all made in America. Really high quality. HASPORT's been around a long time. So I've always actually kind of wanted to put something that they make on a car that I've had, but this is our first project that's a Honda, and they really do Honda Acura stuff only. So without further ado, let's just get started. We're going to show you just kind of like, this isn't like a full tutorial how-to, but you'll end up learning a lot about, just where the motor mounts go, what they look like, like what you need to take off to get to them, and just some general tips and tricks that we might be able to help you with. So either way, you can just get a good idea of what this stuff is and where it goes and what it's for. So let's get started. Okay, so here is the factory motor mount. Like I mentioned, we have those parent bushings in here, but I was gonna show you actually what this looks like if you're, replacing a factory mount, which a lot of you guys are gonna be doing. A lot of you guys won't do this twice. That's the factory bushing. This is the parent insert that kind of stiffens it up a little bit and fills those voids. If you have just this rear motor mount, I can even move it around. You can feel movement just by pressing it with your fingers. So 250 pound-feet of torque on it, it's gonna move a lot, and those voids are gonna get pushed kind of to their limits. And that's what's going to create a lot of vibration and movement, and doesn't translate very well to your chassis. It creates wheel hop and just doesn't send the power to the tires, to the ground quite as smoothly and firmly. So this one's lighter too. I can tell, just by holding these 2, this one's slightly lighter. We're gonna just replace this whole thing, and this is what gets replaced right here. So there's the difference. All right, so rear motor mount is on. We are going to leave the under tray off because we're gonna need to use the jack to support the motor on the other 2 mounts. But we're gonna lower the car and get started on the other 2. Okay, so the next one I'm gonna do is the passenger side mount. That's probably the second easiest. It looks pretty similar to a lot of other front wheel drive cars that I've done, the Focus ST, the Mazda Speed 3. So it's pretty similar, it looks like. So it doesn't look too complicated, although I've never done it. I've never watched any instructions, but I'm confident I can figure this out. I'm gonna start taking some stuff apart. Just go ahead and watch. Okay, so before we fully take the motor mount off, I'm gonna have to get the jack and just put it beneath the motor, just so it's supported while this thing is completely off. There will be nothing supporting the engine on this side, so we just wanna make sure it doesn't drop and put a bunch of stress on the other motor mounts and break the other motor mounts and cause any damage, so. So you can see how loose this thing is. Once you loosen all the bolts, even with the motor mount still just, you know, physically attached in the same location, not being attached to the motor, this thing would drop just, you know, instantly the second threads came off of the engine. So that's why you put the jack underneath there. We'll go ahead and get the motor mount out now and get to work on replacing it with the new one. That's it. Okay, so I'm just sort of mocking up exactly how this is gonna go, making sure I have this all right. This looks to be how this one's gonna go. This is the tall one. Looks really similar in height to what I just took off, so this is definitely the bracket that we're gonna be using. And then kind of the offset 3 drilled holes right here and bushings, so not quite sure. Yeah, it'll probably go like this, but and then we'll also get some hardware that HASPORT sent with us as well, or to us as well in the kit. Looks like I probably wouldn't be a bad idea to read some instructions here, because there's some hardware here that I'm not 100% sure where it goes, probably for some ground cables and such. So looks like I'll have to pull out some directions, just make sure I know what I'm doing here. Here is the passenger side mount assembled right here. Everything is loose still. This, by the way, is going to go in this far bolt hole, and this is going to be used as the ground, which there was a ground originally on the mount itself, kind of on a little casted extension here on the factory mount. So we're going to put this on there. That'll be for the ground. Reuse all the factory hardware outside of just this bolt and this deal right here. This should be pretty easy to go on. So the other one is a little bit more tricky, but I'll go over that with you. I got the instructions and it kind of solidified everything up. We'll make sure to go over that here shortly. So we are done with the passenger side. Relatively simple. Man, that thing looks so good in the engine bay. That billet aluminum and that black bracket just looks so good. So very happy that that went as smoothly as it did. I expected it to. Just a quick note, actually, this little bracket right here that attaches to this coolant hose to the coolant reservoir, that thing you can just take off. There's nowhere to put that bracket, so just take that off. You'll end up with 2 10mm small bolts, and that bracket, you can just remove those if you do the passenger side. So we are about to hop over to what's gonna be the hardest one. Probably not gonna be too crazy, but we're gonna finish up with that one, and then we will have a full set of HASPORT motor mounts on a car. So let's finish up. All right, so here is the final assembly for the third mount. I'm leaving everything loose in here. I've just loosely assembled everything just so we can put it in all as one unit and have as much flexibility as we need, just to get it in there and move it around. And I'll just start to kind of put these bolts back in. A couple of these, this one right here and this one right here are gonna be new. The rest use all the factory hardware, the studs on the transmission go through these innermost holes right here. This gets reused, so we'll tighten this all down once it's in there, but we're about ready to put in the last mount, so here we go. So usually after you do a motor mount install, the first thing you kind of pay attention to is just the vibrations. Vibrations can be totally crazy depending on how aggressive of a motor mount you get. It could be totally crazy because of other just kind of dynamics in the chassis and the motor, deleting balance shafts and things like that. We still have the stock engine, so I didn't expect it to be too crazy, and it isn't crazy, but it's definitely different. Definitely vibrates a little bit more, but it's not really, listen, if you're doing full motor mounts, you have to expect this. It's just not gonna feel like stock and at the same time prevent the motor from moving at all. That's just the nature of stiffer motor mounts. So you can feel it. It is a little bit more vibrations, but it's not super loud, which is nice. You can really only just feel it. You can't really feel or hear the motor a ton more, mainly just feel. So we're gonna take it for a drive. Actually, I want to turn on the AC and just see kind of how it feels with the AC on. Now granted, the motor is still a little bit cold, so the idle might be a little bit different, but actually already it kind of kicked up the idle, which is a lot of engines will do when you turn on the AC to give it a little bit more power. It's not vibrating too much. Once it's fully up to temperature, it might lower the idle and vibrate more. Actually, it just kind of did start doing that a little bit more. So you can feel it a little bit more with the AC on at idle. Again, it's just the nature of the beast with motor mounts. So let's go take it out for a drive and just see how it feels. All right, so as usual, once you give it a little gas, you know, put some RPM in the motor, the vibrations just instantly go away. I mean, there might be a slight increase in vibrations even at different RPM ranges, but really, I mean, it's almost not noticeable. So once you're driving, it's really pretty easy on you. Now we got the 62A durometer ones. In my opinion, let me roll my window here. In my opinion, I think any street car should really get the 62s. I mean, if you want the stiffer and you're okay with that, then go for it. It's not that big of a deal depending on your tolerance level for the vibrations and the noise. But in my opinion, I mean, you're going so far towards stiff with a 62A even that it's such a massive improvement, and to just keep going stiffer is really just getting into kind of race car territory. So in my opinion, a 62A is a plenty good enough upgrade for any street car. And even if you're taking your car out on the track, it's still going to perform night and day better than a stock motor mount. So that's just my personal opinion. Some people are of the opinion, you know, I want the stiffest you can possibly get. I don't care what it's like, and that's totally okay too. That's just my opinion. But you do whatever you want to do, and either way, it's going to definitely help the dynamics of the chassis and the motor a lot better either way. Good old Dino on the corner there. He's wearing his mask. Yeah, so it definitely feels more solid just going through the gears at lower RPMs, just driving around. You can definitely feel the car doesn't want to, you know, play around as much as the motor moves. It's more connected to the car, and you can feel that as the transmission wants to move when it torques, and then when it lets off the torque, you can definitely feel the connection of the motor to the chassis a little bit more. This is something that if you drive your car daily, I mean, you're just going to end up getting more used to it. You're probably going to kind of become insensitive to it over time, especially if you're into more performance feel and more connectivity to the chassis and the engine. But so it's really not that bad, but just right off the bat, you can definitely tell the difference. All right, so here we go through second. Cop doesn't pull me over up here. Oh, it's not a cop. But yeah, definitely going through the gears, it feels way more solid. So, you know, it's not one of those performance upgrades that gives you more power, makes the car like go faster, you know, while you're in a gear, but it definitely transfers the power to the road just a little bit more consistently, a little bit better, just gives the driver just more feedback. So honestly, overall, there's no way I wouldn't do this for like the vibrations and the inconvenience. If I wanted my car to perform better and motor mounts was one of those things that, you know, I could do, or I didn't know if I wanted to do yet, but I was kind of at that stage, just go for it. The HASPORT full kit, totally livable, not crazy at all, at least the 62A durometer bushings, not crazy at all, totally doable. This is a piece of cake. I've had motor mounts in other cars before that were just a nightmare, too stiff, too loud, too much vibration. This is a piece of cake. And on top of that, I mean, the quality of the HASPORT mounts are just really, I mean, pretty much second to none. They're probably the best ones out there. So anyway, let us know what questions you have. Let us know what you think. Let us know any comments, and we'd be happy to help you with these now that we have some experience with them. And yeah, these are available on our site, so make sure you go check out edgeautosport.com, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.